What we're going to learn now is going to deal with the more complex data set. Now, let's use you guys as an example. That's probably simpler because then you can understand it. We're going to deal with having to have a pupil. So let's say we're going to start with KP. Which year are you going to matriculate? You guys are 2017. And you might want to also take details of, what else would you want to take details of?
Job, future job.
No, I mean like as a pupil, what else would, let's say, house? Okay, so which house you in? Starling. Okay. Now that's the details of the person. But now what if I wanted to take down details of a subject as well? Now I know you would to do it properly, you would store it in a database with linked entries, etc., etc., etc. But when dealing with a text file, often they have more complex data set. Now what could potentially happen is that after that they would have a separate data set where it would have IT, maths, English. So you can see it could be taken as a completely separate data set. Or potentially what could happen is that here we would have their hash, and at the front P for pupil, and then here we would have S, hashtag RT, S, hashtag, sorry, that's not, you're doing a special course. So I'm going to show you a couple of different ways. Potentially they could separate it out at the end and list all the subjects there, or they could do it like this, where IT, maths, S, science. Okay. Now then we've got Amir, so then it'll be a person again, hashtag Amir, hashtag 2017, hashtag yellow. So technically is what house are you in? Okay. Alright, so then let's say now you could have another variable amount of subjects. So let's say he has sit, Amir, sit. Alright, we've got the S and then S maths. You only do 2 subjects. You're special. And then Liam, P, hashtag Liam. But now what you get is the fact that there's a variable length. KP has 3 subjects, Amir has 2 subjects. Liam, for example, could have then however many. So the length is variable. So what we now need to, Liam, what class you in? All 3 of you. Wait, why is everyone installing? So he only does RTs. He does special stuff. Alright, I'm not going to go through the rest of the class. I add this, so perhaps I'll pause the video and add the rest just so we have enough data set to work through. Okay, so we've got the data then. As you can see, different pupils have different number of subjects that they take. So there's a variable length of subjects. We have to actually handle that in our program to be able to work with that. So obviously the first thing we're going to deal with is we're going to have to deal with an actual create a class to hold the actual person. So we would create a new Java class, and this is quite easy. We're going to call it pupil, and we're going to put it in the class package pacman. Alright, no, oh, backslash, my bad. Alright, okay, just let me code this. I want you. Okay, so we got the pupil class basic up, and now realize we also have a subject. Now we don't only have one subject per pupil; we have more than one. So what we do is that should be an array. So but in this case, we've got no more detail other than actually the subject name. Potentially, with this data set, you could also then go hashtag 78. So that would be a mark or something like that. So you could handle a more complex data structure. But for now, we're just going to make it a string array. And in the string array, we're going to call it subjects, and this is going to equal new. Now we don't know how many subjects each person is going to take, but we do have a limit within the school. Let's say not new subject, new string. We do have a limit in the school. We only allow people to take a maximum of 11 subjects for argument's sake. But now we do need a counter to keep track of the number of subjects that they're working with. So you can call it yeah. And we start off with 0 because it hasn't been added. Now, the moment you create an array in an exam, it won't ask you this. It'll just say read from the text file and add it to the array, or it will give you in a more broad aspect. Now, what you need to do is you need to actually give it more detail, or sorry, you have to break it down into its steps. And to make your life easier, it's a good idea to code yourself something called like add pupil. And add pupil, you will then receive, so add, not pupil, add subject. and in this you'll receive a string subject, and you'll just populate a new position of subjects. What the void? That's also not how you spell void. That's also not how you spell void. That's how you spell void. So subjects position num subjects, and you'll make that equal to subject what is sent through, and you'll then increment. So it's a good idea to separate the logic of this. So some people try to do it all in one method, and that's fine. There's no worries if you can get it right. It's just it makes life easier if you separate them, and also potentially later on you might want to add a subject from when the user types in something, you want to add it to the storage device and add it to the array, and this way you've already got a method to allow you to do that. Okay, in here we're then going to have to deal with subjects. Now I'm going to come back to this because it's kind of got to do with the reading from the let me get the English right. It's kind of got to do with reading it from the text file, so it's related to that. So we're going to create a working class now, and this is I'm going to call it pupil manager, and my pupil manager class will have an array of my pupil class called pupils. Let me pause the video. Alright, what we're going to do here, so we're going to set it up to be new pupils, so let me zoom in a bit because I always forget to zoom. Alright, I'm going to create a new pupil, and again it's a size. This you should be regurgitating it. It's very simple. We're creating an array of unlimited, well, not unlimited size, up to size 500. Later on I'll teach you a bit about lists where it isn't limited, so that will never be examined, but it can be used for your projects. The next thing you'll do is you'll create a counter to keep track of the number of pupils, and in that we're going to say we're going to set that to equal to 0 because we know that when this program starts up there are 0 pupils in there. That would help us start it up. Alright, so we're going to create a private void add pupil method, and add pupil will receive. This isn't actually really part of what this video is about, so I'm just going to pause this for a second. You know, this is what it's about. It's about the actual reading from the text file. So we've got the add pupil, which will add a new pupil to the array and increment the counter. Same parameters as what the fully parameterized constructor and pupil is. But now, if we take a look at our first thing we're always going to do is we're going to say there exists a file, and this file's name shall be f, and this file is found, and you give the location of it. In this case it's just called data.txt, and it's directly inside the project folder. It could potentially be in a different location. Like often what you potentially could use is app data percentage, and this directly goes to that specific user's home folder. Anyway, we won't get into that. Alright, right now what we're going to do is, that was a side note, my bad. I can't do what it's about. Alright, the next thing you'll do is you're going to create a scanner. Now the scanner actually enters into the data, so we're going to create a scanner, java.util scanner scf, so we're scanning the file as equal to new scanner. Now at this stage it's going to give us an error, and the reason why is because the scanner method throws an exception. Now I don't want to handle it here. I'd rather handle it in my user interface, so my user interface can display to the user and the programmer. So I'm just going to throw the exception so that it continues down the line. So file not found exception gets thrown further down the line and will have to be handled at a later stage. Don't forget to handle it, you will lose marks. Alright, now what we've got is we now need to loop through this, and we need to read each record by each record. So we go while scf dot has next, and while it has next, what are we going to do? We're going to say we need to read each line. So we go record by record by record. So we're going to read this line, and then this line, and then this line, and so forth. So we're just going to read record by record by record. I'll get into how it's different just now. So we're going to go string record is equal to scf dot next line. That'll get the whole entire line. Now this is going to get slightly different. Now we are going to go scf. We are going to create a next scanner, and again we're now going to separate it into fields by using the delimiter. So we're going to say scan record, and this scan record is going to be equal to new scanner, and this time we're going to be scanning a string. But now what the big difference is here now is it's not necessarily a pupil. It could be something else. So screc.next will get whatever is next. This is going to be string type. Now, what I mean by that, if it's a P, it's a pupil. If it's an S, it's a subject. So now how are we going to handle this? Now, that is the question. Dum dum dum. There's a couple of ways we can work with this. There's one, we can pass it through to the pupil and make it the pupil's problem, so the pupil has to separate the subjects. So we just go add subject to the pupil. I want to change this from being private void to public void, and I'll explain why just now. Now, we're going to go back here. First, it's got to do with type. Now, if type dot equals ignore case P, do you guys notice that type is technically a character, right? Because it's an individual letter. So what I would actually do is, purely because I also wanted you to get used to other data types, because we don't often use other data types. So I'm just going to use another data type. I'm going to go next. Hey, there's no option of next character. Yeah. So I'm going to go .next get char@, I want to say 0. So this will get the first character of what is next. So this will get the actual physical P there. Now that it will get P or S. So if type equals capital P, if you want to put some error handling in there, you could say or type, damn it, equals P. And this is the second time I'm getting this card. I just want to make sure it's not important. Continue. Yeah, it still blinks. It blinks if it's paused or unpaused. But anyway, so now this is just in case, and the reason why I would do this is potentially you don't know who's, damn it, what am I doing wrong here? Characters are stored within single inverted commas, not double inverted commas. Anyway, this is just to try handle a bit of error, bad operations. I'm sure that's an all. What? Doesn't like my or. Why don't you like my or? Or. And. Or. Huh. Okay.
So you're not using equals after the second equals after the second time.
Oh, thank you. Well spotted there, Mitchell. Very good show. Okay, well spotted. All right, now that we've got that, we're comparing it. This is just to have a little bit of, you don't know who's capturing the data, so you don't want to accidentally cause any issues there. So if it's a capital P or a small p, what do we want to do? We want to add a pupil. So then we know that the first record after that, the sc.next, is the name, right? So string name is equal to screc.next. What have I missed out from this sdrec scanner? What have I missed? What have I missed here? What have I not told it? I haven't told it how the fields are separated. Do you guys get that? So I didn't tell it that hashes separate each field from each other. So now the name is the first thing. If it is a P, name is the first thing. The second thing is an integer, and it is the matric year, right? screc.next int. And what is the next thing that we'll have there? We have the house. Okay, now there we'll just go add pupil. So where's this now? It's under I've lost the train of thought. It's under, so now here we've got the add pupil method, and we can add the pupil. Now if it's not P, we can assume it's an S, right? It's the subject. Now I'm going to put there an else if, just because again there potentially could be other things there. So type is equal to capital S, or type is equal to small s. And if that is the case, it's a subject. So what do we want to do with the next? So the next part of it is a, what is the next part of it? It's a subject, so we just go, now which pupil, out of this pupils table, which pupils is the latest one we just added?
num people.
But is it num pupils? No, it's num pupils minus 1.
Oh, yes.
Do you guys get that? Dot add subject, and we add the subject to that pupil. So the main difference that we've done here now is if it's a P, we add a new pupil. And if it's an S, we add a subject to the pupil whom we just added. So the first thing that's going to happen is it's going to add the pupils into here. So it's going to add the pupil, and then it's going to go through every single one that says S and add the subject to that pupil's subject array. It's then going to get to a new pupil, it will then add a pupil. It will then go through every subject, add it to the so forth. So basically we're doing a check here according to the first record, whether it's a pupil or a subject that is currently being read, or a subject of that pupil, shall we say. So do you guys get that it's a bit more complex a data set? It's one data set, but it's storing two different data types. But it goes pupil, subject, 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 pupil, subject, and an unknown number of subjects. So let's just test if this works. To test if it's work, we now know this array is going to work. So we're going to have to improve our toString, and then we're going to create a user interface to do that. I think there's a lot of people who lose marks in the GUI, so I'm just going to record this as well, just so to reiterate it. So we're just going to add a text area, which I've now managed to lose to it. You right-click, rename txt display. You're then going to add buttons to it. Now on those buttons, you don't actually really need to. In this case, we've got a very simple program that's just reading from a text file and displaying it, so you don't actually really need a button. It's only if you need a sort or something like that, you'd have a sort button and it would sort it, etc. And this is the part where people seem to be baffled. Remember, it will start running by going public static void main, which goes new GUI, which creates an instance of the GUI. So we can add our working class as a field. So we can go public pupil manager, in this case, pman, semicolon. You can go equals new pupil manager here as well, it's not a problem. So I'm going to do it in the constructor, so that it constructs everything which is more is equal to new, which is better programming anyway. So now new pupil. Now what you'll notice here, and this is why we actually couldn't do it in here, it's because I've thrown the exception treaty here, it's now got a red line underline here. So in this case, I need to actually surround it with a try catch, because now I want to deal with it. And I'm going to display an error to the, so I just clicked on the little bulb on the left hand side, and then I said handle error. And let me just show you that again. Let's go back just in case. So new pupil manager, it comes up with a red underline. If I go to the light bulb, it says there unreported exception. In other words, an exception has been thrown, but it has not been caught. So we're going to catch it now. So we're going to surround it with a try catch. We're then going to go and we're going to display the error to the programmer, which is easiest just to do with SERR, and you'll often give a more detailed message here. In my case, I'm just going to go pman fail. It's not that, and I'll put the EX. And with the user, you might do something a bit more, maybe less detail, but you still want to give them a decent amount of detail. So you want to include the EX because they might be able to fix it on their side, like they've realized they've done something wrong. An error, whatever. Okay. Now that we've handled the exception, this should work. But in this case, we also now need to create a to actually display it. So I'm going to create a display all. And now that we want to display all, we're going to go txt display.setText, and we're going to say to pman.toString. I'm hoping I actually did code the toString here. I don't remember. Nope, I didn't code the toString. Okay, let me quickly code the toString of there. I did code the toString of the pupils, so the subjects would all be put down into the house. In our pupil manager, though, I didn't code the toString there. It looks like I've got a red underline here. And the reason why, I haven't given it a data type void. And on running it, I would want to also run display all. You could also potentially want to do this in here because you don't want it to run unless it's actually successfully initialized. Alright, so this is just to display it all. I'm going to quickly create the toString here, and then we'll go ahead and test if our program works. Before we run this, I'm just going to go through the logic of this again. We've got a text file which has an introduction text which says what data type or record is following. If it's a P, it's a pupil, and if it's an S, it's a subject of the pupil that was last entered. So what we did is in our scanner, we read through, we opened up that file, we got the record. When we got the record, we took the first character and stored it as type. We then literally said, if that type is a P, we go through steps to add a pupil. And if the type is an S, we go through steps to add the subject to the last added pupil. Now obviously it means that there could potentially be an error. I've been putting my headphones on occasions, it's not even plugged in. But we would be going through steps on here to actually to check on what type we're adding it to, and then we're adding it to it. So that's the big thing over here. After that, it's all the same stuff. You got your toString, which will loop through your array. In your pupil, you have a toString, which will first show the details of the pupil and then loop through the array and add the subjects, and so forth. And in our GUI, we created instances of it, and we initialized it in here so we could catch the error and deal with the error. Okay, let's run it and make sure that it works. There shouldn't be an issue. Okay, 100, so it worked. Now, obviously, that looks ugly. We didn't put an enter after the subjects, but it is working. So, I mean, that's a simple fix. We just put an enter after the subjects. So, under pupil, under the subjects, I'll just go add there a enter. Okay, let's run that again. Let's see if it looks pretty. Okay, there we go. So, KP, Houses, Starling, Matric Year 2017, IT, Maths, Science, EMEA, House, Starling, Matric Year 2017, IT, Mathematics, and so forth. And there we go. Sky is the busybody doing everything, including home economics. So as you can see, everything is over there, and Mitchell jousting. Okay, I think that's this pretty much showing you how to read from a more complex data set, and the fact that you have to determine what is actually being read before you read it. So it can be a variable length and all that. And they'll often throw that into you for you in the matric exam. They often show you, okay, give you a complex data set and you have to filter through it and do some string manipulation to determine which array you're adding it to or whatnot. Okay, that's the end of this video. Goodbye.